let's now talk about the Air India crash of the flight AI-171. Now, India's Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau has issued a stern statement cautioning against premature conclusions in the ongoing investigation into the tragic air crash. This, remember, has claimed 260 lives and happened on the 12th of June. And since then, there have been many conspiracy theories that have come to fore. But the AAIB has emphasized that the investigation is still underway and the final report, which will detail the root causes and the safety recommendations, is yet to be released. Remember, this comes amid speculative reports from sections of Western media suggesting pilot error as the cause of the crash. The AAIB has called such reporting selective and unverified, warning that it risks undermining the integrity of the investigative process. The Federation of Indian Pilots is also considering legal action over the claims that have been made in certain sections of the Western media. Now, let's take a look at what is the AAIB really saying by setting the record straight. What is it that they are wanting to suggest and how they want the reportage at least to be in the right direction without making these early conclusions. So number one, they are going and saying that the Western media is reporting this, that the captain switched off the fuel flow to the engines and because of which the crash happened. But the probe body mentions that this is a preliminary report and it only explains what happened, not why it happened or how it happened. The other thing that the Western media is going on to mention is that the first officer was tense while captain remained calm. They are trying to again go ahead with certain set of conspiracy theories. There were possible lack of coordination between the two pilots that were inside the cockpit, but the probe body has gone on to say that this is a final investigation report is only going to come after the probe concludes. The probe is still underway. There is going to be another 12 months for that probe to conclude possibly, so early conjecture should not be drawn. The other thing that the Western media has been claiming, that the AAIB's preliminary report hints at the captain's role in this entire crash. To this, the probe body has mentioned that this is only premature conclusion by some international media outlets. Not true at all. This is not what we can go ahead and claim, that the pilot was on a suicide mission. The other aspect that was highlighted by the Western media is that the accident should be reviewed by criminal authorities because they are going ahead with the conspiracy claim, with the suicidal mission that possibly the pilots were on. To which the probe body is saying that the public and media should avoid any speculation. This is not responsible at all, is what AAIB is saying. Western media goes on and says that both the switches were turned back on 10 seconds later. Remember, the entire issue is with the preliminary report suggesting that the fuel switch was in that cutoff position after being in the run position because the plane did take off. And now the probe body is also mentioning that this is too early to reach any definitive conclusion. So this is not really equating that this was a pilot error. We are yet to ascertain what really caused this, what really caused the fuel switches to go from run to cutoff position. So these claims have been put to rest. AAIB is setting the record straight that you cannot go ahead and blame the pilot. It's too early to do any of that. Wait for the report and the conclusion to come about. Let me take this across to my colleagues Anvit and Payal, who are with us on the broadcast. Anvit, coming to you first. The AAIB is ensuring that the wrong narrative doesn't go out. It's very, very sensitive. And again, it's not something sensational. We are talking about 260 lives that have been lost. So this is important.
Certainly, see, this all started when the first report was published, telling that the fuel switch would be in the center of the investigation, and the backlash started then, saying that how did this news was leaked to foreign media when the reports of the AIB were already not made public. It started then, and then the latest article clearly puts the pilot in command in the focus and says that he was calm while he turned off the fuel switch, while the first officer asked him that why did he do so. The report of AIB, however, clearly doesn't go on to mention that who was the pilot who was asking the other that why did you switch the fuel button off, and he said that no, I did not. Also, see, we need to see it in perspective of that previously Federal Aviation Administration had issued an advisory advisory saying that there is problem with 737 fuel switch that were installed with the fuel locking feature disengaged. On similar lines, now DGCA has also given a mandatory order to all the airlines to inspect their fuel switch. Keeping this in mind, it clearly indicates that there is a possibility that there could be a mechanical or electrical failure involved with the fuel switch. AIB report clearly mentions that this transition took from run to cutoff, but it does not mention whether this transition was manual or was it mechanical. On these lines, AIB has recently issued a detailed report saying that foreign media is reporting unverified facts. It also says that the report is in its initial, the investigation is its initial phase, and drawing such conclusions will only affect the integrity of the investigation. And they have asked the media to not speculate, but to only stick to facts. These initial findings are only indicators of as to what happened. And we at CNN News 18 have been reporting since the beginning that the initial report will only tell us what happened. How it happened and what transpired will come on in the later report, because AIB is currently ascertaining certain factors. The fuel that had been collected from the auxiliary power unit is still under analysis, also to check if there was any problem with the fuel. Also, the data from the FDR and CVR is still under analysis, and the AIB report clearly goes on to mention that certain things are under analysis, and it lists down features of investigation that are currently undergoing. So the final report will take months and may also take a year. But AIB has been maintaining, and the Ministry of Civil Aviation officers have also been maintaining since the beginning, that this is only indicators and only initial findings. Let's wait for the detailed report, because it will also have the details of the CVR when we have heard that they have released a conversation of one pilot asking the other how the transition happened. It may have a detailed part of the transcript also as to what was the conversation happening between the two pilots before that fuel switch was found to have made that transition. So many details are yet to emerge, and that is why AIB has urged the media to not speculate, to not report unverified facts, and only stick to the facts that have appeared in the report so far.
Right. Payal, this entire conjecture possibly that went about in the international media was also attributing the fact that AAIB is very tight-lipped despite the preliminary investigation report has mentioned a fuel switch error. Now that we see that the Federation of Indian Pilots is going to possibly move court against all of these claims that are being made in the Western media, anything that you're learning of the next step by possibly the AAIB, or for that matter, the kind of reportage that we see here, at least in India?
Well, to begin with, we are at least glad that on CNN Network 18, we've not had any of these unverified information being put out, because, dignity in death has to be respected. And so is the case for the pilots concerned over here, because they're not going to be here to defend themselves as well. Having said that, the kind of narrative that the Western media tried to really create, saying that, this happened and that happened. If you look at the report, that report does not, give any direction, does not give any recommendations as well, which clearly is indicative of the fact that the report is not complete. The first task of the investigators over here will be to complete the report and present it before the concerned public, because that's the matter of utmost importance over here as well. And therefore, the Western media, in particular the Wall Street Journal articles that you really saw, Reuters that you've seen in the past, have all been casting aspersions on the conduct of the pilot, which is completely unfair. And after a few days of this really happening, the ministry put its thought together, essentially saying that this is enough. And we need to make sure that, no such reportage is encouraged as well. In fact, certain sections of the Indian media have also come out and, cast aspersions on multiple levels that are also being, referred to over here by the government as well. It's very clear this report is not complete. And therefore, the ministers concerned, whether it's Ram Mohan Naidu or Muralidhar Mohan, have refrained from speaking any further on the findings of the initial report, because you'll have to wait for the entire report to complete. There are certain sections of the media who had also toyed and told us the idea that, basically the black box would not be investigated in India. Some had even reported that it has already been sent to the US, but none of that was really true. So on an issue like this, which concerns sentiments of people at large, concerns, of course, the rights of pilots also, to find their dignity in death, it is very important. We do not speculate anything.
Network 18 is now the clear leader in digital media, with 55% more users on native platforms and social media than Times Internet. Network 18, the undisputed leader of news networks, way ahead of the times.